Okay, so here's how to make a stiff dough. We've got 500 grams of flour with 250 grams of water and the required yeast and salt. The first thing to do is just mix it all in roughly together with a spoon until much of the water is taken up. And then when you can't really break it up anymore with the spoon, take off as much of the flour as possible, and then get your hands in and try to squeeze it together, pushing down, squeezing and twisting it together until you can get as much of that flour in as possible. This sort of dough is used for things like pizzas, where they have a very stiff and elastic dough. But it can also be used for making rolls or any normal loaves. When all that flour is taken up, you can move it out onto the work surface, and as you can see it is stiff and the flour is still coming out on it, but just keep folding it and pushing it down, folding it and pushing it down. Each time you're turning it to 90 degrees and then folding it and pushing it down. Switch hands as you get tired, rolling as well to try and stretch out the gluten, and you'll feel it getting slightly stickier as the water is absorbed by the flour. We'll roll up those extra escapees. Now, I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but it's still quite bitty and broken. But with this constant rolling 90 degrees, rolling 90 degrees, you'll feel it start to get smoother and softer. This is quite a tough one, but it's worth keeping going for a while because it will make a nice even texture to the loaf. I don't know if you can see now, this top is starting to get much smoother, much softer. You can see we've been going for a few minutes now, working it fairly hard and fairly swiftly. And I'd say that's now ready to be put aside into an oiled bowl and left to rise. So here we can see it's about doubled in size, and it's time to knock it back and then shape the loaf. So the first thing to do is just with a fist, just knock it back into the bowl to get most of the air out. Then you can pull it out. No need for a floured board with this dough because it's so stiff it's not going to stick to it at all. And then we can just do, as before, a quick knead just to try and distribute the gases as much as possible. and work that gluten a bit more. Same action as before, turning through 90 degrees, folding and rolling, folding and rolling. Doesn't need much at this point. Now you could either cut it into small sections and just work them in the same manner into small rolls. Always keep the seam side down, or with the whole lot together, you can stretch it out into a rough circle, and then folding the top corners in, and then the bottom corners in, and then those 2 points, roll it over, everything under, and just shape it up nicely. And that's shaped for a bloomer. So we can take that rolled loaf onto a well-oiled tray, pop that into the middle, and then with a sharp knife we just put a couple of deep slashes across the middle, put that to one side, and now it needs to be covered with oiled film to stop it drying out while it's rising. Easy way to do this is to spread the film out a line of oil down one side, and then with the piece of tissue you've used to oil the tray, just spread it across, holding down the film with this hand. Okay, I'll bring this into shot. And that can be left to double in size again, and then into a hot oven.